The undefeated Chicago Bears get their biggest test of the season so far as they face the 0-2 Atlanta Falcons, who, although they're 0-2 guys, their record does not speak for what they are, okay? Because they barely lost against some pretty good football teams. So will Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago Bears offense be able to terrorize this pretty poor Falcons defense? And will the Chicago Bears defense be able to stand up against the fearsome Falcons offense? Before I begin talking about this matchup, I want to spend some time talking about my sponsor for this video, DraftKings Sportsbook. Guys, I've been having a lot of fun over the past few weeks betting on like a lot of different random teams, okay? I just turned 21 recently at the beginning of this year, so this is the first year I've been allowed to bet on sports, and I've been enjoying it a lot because, like you guys know, I am a diehard sports fan, okay? I will watch pretty much any sport that is on, from hockey to baseball to basketball to even recently Slovakian soccer. I was up at 3 a.m. trying to find something to watch on TV because I couldn't fall asleep, and somehow I came across Slovakian soccer, and I was like, why not put some money on this, okay? It's gonna make watching this game a little bit more interesting. So I put some money on some random team, and I ended up winning that bet somehow. So I got a little bit lucky there, but I've also been placing bets on obviously the Chicago Bears, okay? I've been betting on us to win the last 2 games, and I have won those bets because obviously we are undefeated right now, so I won a decent amount of cash there. And overall, I've been having a lot of fun with it. If you guys want to be like me, if you guys want to place bets on your favorite sports teams or really any sports leagues across the nation right now or across the world as well, I would highly recommend downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app. It's the #1 top-rated app in all of America. It's based right here in the USA, so you can rest assured that all of your funds are going to be safe and secure with them. You can withdraw and deposit money at any time you want at your own convenience, so it's really nice in that regard. And also, you know, one more thing I love about the app is that it's so ridiculously beginner friendly. So even if you don't know what you're doing yet, if you're new to sports betting like I was just a couple weeks ago, this app is really easy to use. You know, you can see easily how much money you're going to win on a bet, what your odds are. You can place bets on a lot of different teams with ease. So if you are a beginner and you're kind of overwhelmed with all these different numbers, I mean, I would recommend downloading DraftKings because it is definitely the best app for a beginner to use in my experience. So also, guys, if you are new to this app, if you have not used it ever before, you know, I have a promo code that you can use using the link down below in the description box. So use that link down below. Sign up for an account and use promo code DaWindyCity while signing up. That will give you guys a promotion where if you enter $1 on any NFL team, you can turn that $1 into $100 if that team wins, okay? So pretty much you're getting 100-to-1 odds on any NFL team you want. So that could be the Chicago Bears, that could be a different team like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, or whoever you want to bet on them because you could turn that $1 into $100. So head on over to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and check out all they have to offer because they have a ton of different bets that you can place. They have live betting, they have prop betting, so you can bet on things like David Montgomery to score the first touchdown the next game, like stuff like that. And they have just a lot of different fun bets that you can place. So go on over there, you know, find a bet that you like and place some money on it because you could potentially get lucky and win some cash. Now, if DraftKings Sportsbook is not available in your state, you know, download the DraftKings Fantasy app because the DraftKings Fantasy app, you know, they're giving away millions of dollars of prizes every single week. What's up, guys? I'm back with the weekly Chicago Bears prediction videos. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe for Bears content all year long. You know, I'll be coming out with reaction videos, highlight videos, prediction videos, all the good stuff. So if you are a Bears fan like me, be sure to subscribe. And guys, you know, like I said earlier, you know, we have our toughest test of the season right now, okay? This weekend, I'm really looking forward to this game because it's the first true test this Bears team is going to have, okay? Right now, we are undefeated. We are 0-2. Sorry, not 0-2. We are 2-0. And, you know, things are looking good right now. But the fact of the matter is that both those wins came against pretty poor football teams in the Lions and the Giants. And both those wins also were kind of last-second wins, okay? Against the Lions, we barely came back. And against the Giants, you know, Daniel Jones and that team had a chance to drive down the field and put the game-winning touchdown against us. So because of that, you know, virtually nobody right now is buying into the Bears hype this season. Even though we are undefeated, nobody, you know, the fan base or the media, they're not talking about the Bears as being a contending team this year because we haven't beaten anybody actually good and we haven't played a full 60 minutes of football. So even though a win is a win, guys, like I always say, how you win kind of does matter to some extent because it shows how you're going to play against better competition. So if we can get this win, guys, I think the Bears are finally going to be taken seriously to some extent because, yeah, I know people are going to say that it's only an 0-2 Falcons team, right? This Falcons team has not been winning football games. But like I said earlier, guys, this Falcons team barely lost against the Seahawks, and they barely lost against the Dallas Cowboys. They choked a 20-point lead, which I haven't seen a lot in my time watching the NFL. But the Atlanta Falcons are going to be the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to do what they do best, and that is choke big leads. Under Dan Quinn, they've done that a lot. So they choked a massive lead against the Cowboys and somehow allowed Dak Prescott to pass for over like 450 passing yards and come back in that game. But if a few plays went differently in both the Cowboys game and the Seahawks game, they could very easily be 2-0 right now. So we're not going to look at this team's record and think that they're going to be a bad football team, because that is far from the case, guys. If you look at the Falcons offense, man, they are firing on all cylinders. They have an MVP caliber quarterback right now in Matt Ryan, who's putting up crazy numbers. They have 2 star wide receivers in Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. Both these guys could be #1 options on a lot of different teams. They have other receiving options as well. Their defense, on the other hand, has been absolutely dreadful in every single way possible. Okay, that's what's clearly holding back this football team, because if they had at least an average defense, I think this team could be a Super Bowl contender, because their offense is just ridiculously good. So defense is horrible. Offense is really good. And overall, the Falcons are going to win a decent amount of games this year. I think they can go at least 8-8 based on the strength of their offense alone, and if their defense does improve down the road. So we're not going to act like this is a bad football team, because it is going to be a challenge for the Bears. And, you know, it's going to be tough to win. But if we can actually win this game, the Bears are going to be taken a lot more seriously in the eyes of a lot of people around the league. With all that said, let me quickly break down how the last game went for both the Chicago Bears and the Atlanta Falcons. So beginning by talking about the Chicago Bears, I also, I made a whole video on this, on my reaction to the Giants game. So if you want to see that for a more in-depth breakdown, I would encourage you to watch that. But pretty much what happened in that Giants game was that it was a tale of 2 halves for the Chicago Bears. Okay, it was the first half where everything was going our way. Mitch Trubisky was firing on all cylinders. Our offense was looking amazing. We put up 17 points pretty easily. We could have put up 21 points if Anthony Miller chose to catch that touchdown. But overall, our defense was dominating as well. We had like 3 sacks on Daniel Jones at that point. We had a forced fumble, a lot of pressure in his face. But in the second half, everything changed completely. Our offense could not put up any points. Our top 2 receivers, they dropped, passes. They caused interceptions, and our offense was not in sync whatsoever. But our defense also, they did allow Daniel Jones to drive down the field a couple times and almost win that game. So we only played 30 minutes of good football, and we left a lot to be desired out there. So not a great showing overall, but I did like what I saw in the first half, especially for Mitch Trubisky, because I think Mitch Trubisky looked okay, actually, pretty good throughout the entire game. It's just that his receivers were not showing up, to play. So those are my thoughts on the Bears game. Going over to the Atlanta Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons, like I mentioned, they choked a big lead against the Dallas Cowboys. They were looking amazing the first 2 quarters. They had a 20-0 lead, and it looked like they were going to blow out this pretty decent Cowboys team. And Falcon fans were going crazy. Cowboys haters were going crazy as well. Stephen A. Smith, all the people that hate the Cowboys, they're pretty happy. But what happens in the second half? The Falcons absolutely choke, okay? It wasn't even the entire second half. It was pretty much the fourth quarter, because they were up by 15 points also in that fourth quarter, but they allowed the Cowboys to drive down the field on back-to-back drives, put up these touchdowns. And one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen in my time watching football, that onside kick, which I still have no idea what the hell the Falcons are trying to do, but they didn't jump on that onside kick. Even though they were a member of the receiving team, they probably thought they had to wait, even though that's only what the kicking team has to do. So they clearly did not know what the rules were, which is kind of inexcusable, because you do so many of these onside kicks, even in high school, even in college. Like, you guys have been playing football for a long time. You still do not know the rules. That's kind of pathetic. So Dan Quinn, man, I think he needs to be gone fast, because I've seen Falcons fans call for his head for a while now. After the Super Bowl, they were calling for his head, but especially now, okay, blowing this big lead, that is inexcusable. And that is why they're 0-2 right now, because they could not hang on to a big lead. So overall, it was not good showings by the Bears and the Falcons last week. Okay, the Bears didn't look that good against a pretty poor Giants team. The Falcons blew an enormous lead against the Cowboys. But the difference here is that the Bears are 2-0 and the Falcons are 0-2. So because of this, guys, the Atlanta Falcons are going to be playing with absolute desperation against our Chicago Bears, okay? They cannot afford to go 0-3 because an 0-3 start is pretty much a death blow to any playoff chances you have. And if Dan Quinn goes 0-3, I mean, he probably is going to be fired at the end of the season because it's going to make it really hard for them to make the playoffs. So with all that being said, I mean, this Falcons team is going to be even more tough to beat because they're going to be playing so hard. They're going to be playing their hearts out. They're going to be playing their absolute hardest to beat our team. It's going to be difficult for our Chicago Bears team to match the level of intensity because there's just a certain level of desperation you have being 0-2 that you don't have when you're 2-0, okay? I know that all the players on the Bears, they want to win this game. You know, they're definitely going to play their hardest. They always say to the media, like, it doesn't matter that we're 2-0. Okay, each week is a different week. We take it one game at a time. But there is definitely just a certain, difference in how badly you want a victory if you are down 0-2 and your season might be on the line, as opposed to the Chicago Bears who are 2-0, tied for first in the NFC North. So it's just going to be tough for us to match that level of intensity. But I hope Matt Nagy can rile up his guys and get that out of them because we are going to have to be intense and dialed in to win this game. With all that said, let me break down the stats for each team now. The Atlanta Falcons offense and defense and the Chicago Bears offense and defense. Like, how do they rank statistically in yardage and points and other things among all the other teams in the NFL? So I'll begin by talking about the Chicago Bears. Okay, the Chicago Bears offense right now is 23rd in total yards, 29th in passing, so pretty poor passing the ball, but 9th in rushing. So they've been pretty effective trying to run the football this year, which is definitely a change from what we saw last year, okay? Because last year we definitely struggled to run the football. This year the Chicago Bears are averaging 4.7 yards per carry, which is a pretty phenomenal number. This year we are 21st in total points, so we haven't been able to score a crazy amount of points. We're 19th in third down conversion percentage. We are 27th in the red zone, so pretty poor in red zone efficiency. And we are 9th in time of possession. So that's one key stat right there, guys. 9th in time of possession. The Bears are, we're able to hold on to the football for long periods of time because we're able to run the football so effectively. But the thing is, we're not turning those drives, that time of possession, into actual points, which is something we will have to do against this pretty good Atlanta Falcons team. Moving over to the Bears defense, we are 16th in total yards given up, 19th against the pass, but 11th against the run. So definitely better against the run, against the pass. But, that doesn't mean that our secondary is necessarily bad because I feel like it's more due to the fact that our linebackers, specifically Danny Trevathan, we're allowing a lot of crossing routes, a lot of shallow routes in the middle of the field that make our passing numbers against the pass look a lot worse than they actually are. Okay, our secondary is actually played pretty well. So now one pretty important stat though is that the Bears defense is 3rd in total points allowed. So even though we're allowing all this yardage, we're not allowing very many points, which is definitely a good thing if you are the Chicago Bears, because ultimately what it comes down to is what you can do in the red zone. If you can force all these teams to only having field goals, that's going to help your team win a lot more games. So the Bears defense in the red zone is the 4th best. We only allow 18 points per game. We forced the 7th most turnovers so far, forcing 3 turnovers. And on third down, we're actually the 3rd best team in the entire NFL on defense. So we allowed the opponents to convert third down 31% of the time, which is actually much lower than I had thought, because I thought the Bears defense on third down was much worse than what it actually is, okay? But the numbers do tell a different story. So the Bears defense overall, guys, it's still been pretty solid. It's still been pretty good, even though a lot of us have been complaining because situationally we have struggled at times, okay? We've allowed some big yardage, some big plays when we need to buckle down the most, like in the 4th quarter, on the final drives of the game, i.e. that final Detroit Lions drive, which DeAndre Swift dropped the game-winning touchdown, and the last drive also in the Giants game, Daniel Jones did drive down the field, but at the end, Eddie Jackson did stop him. So overall, we did keep them out of the red zone. We did not allow any points, but this Bears defense can be better than what it is right now. Moving over to the Atlanta Falcons are about as good as you can possibly get on offense in the NFL right now. So the Falcons on offense, they're 4th in total yards, averaging 443 yards per game. They're 2nd in passing, so really good passing attack. Obviously, you got Matt Ryan, you got crazy weapons all over the field, so that doesn't surprise me at all. But in rushing, they're actually 28th in the NFL, so they only average 3.4 yards per carry, which is kind of worrisome for them because you have Todd Gurley, you gave a lot of money to over the offseason, and you expect him to do a lot more than what he's doing right now. And the Falcons offense is going to have some type of a rushing attack if they want to keep their opponents off the field and give a breather to their horrible defense. So down the road, they are going to need some type of a rushing attack. But as of right now, guys, their passing attack is definitely handling the job. They're 5th in total points per game. They scored 32 a game, so a crazy amount of points. And some other stats, the 10th on third down conversion percentage. They're 12th in the red zone, so pretty efficient there. And 13th in time of possession. So even though they don't have any sort of a run game right now, they're still hanging on to the ball and, building these long sustaining drives, just through the passing attack. Now, their defensive stats are where the real fun begins if you are a Chicago Bears fan. Okay, reading these stats make me feel very warm and fuzzy inside because it makes me a little bit more hopeful about our offense's chances to score a lot of points against this defense. So the Falcons defense is 31st in total yards allowed. They allow 477 yards a game. They're 31st against the pass, terrible against the pass. Their secondary has been playing pretty poorly. They're 9th against the run, so they have been able to bottle up the run game to some extent so far. So that's truly where the strength of the defense lies. Okay, in the run game and the front seven. They're last in the NFL in points allowed. They allow 39 points per game. Now, it is worth noting that they have gone against some pretty good offenses. Okay, the Seahawks and the Cowboys do have pretty good quarterbacks. Obviously, Russell Wilson is the MVP level quarterback. Dak Prescott is probably top 10 in a lot of people's eyes. And they have a lot of receiving weapons as well, both the Seahawks and the Cowboys. So they went up against some pretty tough competition, but still to allow this much yardage, to allow this many points, it is definitely a regression from last year. Now, I could read you guys a lot more stats, but I'm going to save you guys the time and just say that the Falcons are last in pretty much all defensive categories when it comes to the passing attack. Okay, they're terrible against the pass, but they are pretty solid against the run. So that's pretty much all you have to know about this Falcons defense. Now, before I continue further with this video, I want to take a little bit of time and read the injury report for the Atlanta Falcons because, guys, this is something that's definitely going to impact the game this weekend. Okay, the Chicago Bears so far have gotten extremely lucky with injuries. Knock on wood. Okay, hopefully that stays the same. But right now, we don't have any major injuries at all to really any key players. Now, the Atlanta Falcons, on the other hand, have really big injuries to some key players on both offense and on defense. So, reading the report, guys, for the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, some of the players that didn't play on Wednesday due to injury were Julio Jones, Kendall Sheffield, Demonte Kazee, Ricardo Allen, Foye Oluokun, which, by the way, guys, Foye Oluokun had like 3 forced fumbles in the first half of that Cowboys game. So that's ridiculous. That's a big loss they have because this second-year linebacker, I mean, he's proving to have a breakout season maybe this year. So that would be a big loss if he doesn't play this weekend. Dante Fowler Jr. didn't play. Jake Matthews, Caleb McGarry, their starting right tackle, Takaris McKinley, their defensive end. I mean, they have a lot of big players on offense and on defense not practicing right now, and they might not play or they might be limited against the Chicago Bears this Sunday, which, by the way, guys, can you imagine if Julio Jones is not playing in this game? I mean, that would be such a gift to our secondary, not having one of the best receivers in the NFL to guard. That would make life much easier on Kyle Fuller and Jalen Johnson and Chuck Pagano as well, because that's one huge option that you don't have to worry about. And even if he is playing, he's probably going to be limited to some extent with his hamstring injury. So I would obviously much rather beat these teams at full strength. But if we get a little bit lucky with injuries, I'm not going to complain, okay? Because usually the injuries are not in our favor. So it's good to see that so far the Bears are staying healthy. But again, I'm not going to talk about this too much because I don't want to jinx anything. But all you have to know is that the Falcons do have a ton of key injuries right now on offense and on defense. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's get to the fun part about this video now, talking about these matchups. And pretty much the most important matchup that we have to worry about in this game is going to be the Falcons passing attack versus the Chicago Bears secondary, okay? Will our Chicago Bears secondary be able to handle the task of guarding these all-world, all-class receivers in Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley? They also have Russell Gage. They have a tight end they acquired from the Baltimore Ravens, Hayden Hurst, which all these guys, man, they're putting up crazy numbers, okay? If you look at Calvin Ridley, I think he's leading all receivers in yardage right now. He has 239 receiving yards. He has 4 touchdowns, a ridiculous amount of touchdowns, so very active in the red zone. Julio Jones, their #1 option for the past, 10 years, okay? He has 181 yards so far. He dropped a pretty big touchdown in the last game against the Cowboys, so struggling a little bit in the red zone, but still putting up a lot of yardage. Now, Russell Gage, their, I think, second or third year receiver, he has 160 yards and 1 touchdown. And Hayden Hurst has 110 yards receiving and 1 touchdown as well. So pretty much all across the board, guys, over the first 2 games, all their top 4 receiving options have put up some crazy stats so far. Now, with all that being said, the main 2 guys the Bears defense is going to have to key in on are going to be obviously Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. Okay, that's the 1-2 punch. That's probably the best in the entire NFL right now. Like few cornerback duos in this entire league can guard both of those guys. But one of those cornerback duos, I think, are going to be the Chicago Bears, because both Kyle Fuller and Jalen Johnson have been having a ridiculous start to the season so far. If I read you guys Jalen Johnson's stats, Jalen Johnson's been playing at a ridiculous level so far. He's been one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL, okay? Not just one of the best rookies, one of the best corners, period. So Jalen Johnson, over the past 2 weeks, he's 2nd in the entire NFL in pass breakups with 5. He's 4th in the NFL in forced incompletion percentage at 39%. He's the 5th highest PFF grade among all corners in the NFL right now at 80.3. And he's allowed the lowest passer rating among all rookie defensive backs at 64.2. So just playing at an insanely high level. He's been the steal of the draft for the Chicago Bears so far. But Kyle Fuller, on the other hand, he's been playing arguably even better so far. Fuller has allowed a passer rating of 0.0 over the past 2 weeks. He's allowed only 20% completion percentage, 3 passes defended, and 1 interception, which that interception came at a huge crucial time in that Lions game, enabled us to win that game eventually. So Kyle Fuller and Jalen Johnson, man, they have been completely balling out, been one of the best 1-2 punches in the entire NFL among all secondaries. So this is going to be their toughest challenge by far, but if they can handle it, if they can contain Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley to like under 70 yards each, which is going to be a tall task, but I think they can do it. They're without a doubt going to be the best 1-2 punch in the league right now at the cornerback spot. So hopefully Jalen Johnson, man, he's able to contain whoever is on him. I think they're probably going to match up Jalen Johnson with Julio Jones, just based on the fact that Julio is injured right now, and Calvin Ridley, anyways, is playing at a higher level than Julio right now. So you probably want to put Kyle Fuller on Calvin Ridley, probably put Jalen Johnson, the more physical corner, against the more physical receiver in Julio Jones. Now, it's not going to be done all by themselves though, okay? If the pass rush of the Chicago Bears does not show up, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and all the other guys, they're going to have a field day on this Bears secondary, because you can only cover these guys for so long, okay? If we are not getting consistent pressure on Matt Ryan, if Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, and Akeem Hicks are not showing up in Matt Ryan's face like every other minute, it's going to be tough for our secondary to really hold these guys for that long. So the Bears front 7, they're going to have to find a way to get pressure on Matt Ryan consistently throughout the entire game, throughout the entire 60 minutes. Hopefully Robert Quinn plays more snaps. He only played, I believe, 38% of the snaps in the last game against the Giants. But even in those 38% of the snaps, I mean, he made a big, enormous impact. So if we can get more pressure from our top 3 pass rushers, Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, and Robert Quinn, it's going to make life much easier on Kyle Fuller, Jalen Johnson, and the rest of our secondary. So, hopefully we can do that. Also, speaking about the front 7, I mean, I have to bring up the fact that our front 7 is going to have to bottle up this run game completely, because we cannot have the Atlanta Falcons passing on us and running on us as well, okay? You cannot do both of them. If the Falcons are able to establish a run game early, it's going to be game over for the Chicago Bears defense. We're probably going to allow 30+ points, because you cannot allow the Falcons to do both against you, okay? So far, the Falcons have only really passed over their opponents so far, and they've been having a ton of success just doing that. If they get the run game going as well, it's going to be impossible to stop all these weapons. So hopefully, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan has been having a pretty poor start to the season. If Danny Trevathan can rebound from the pretty poor start, if Roquan Smith can continue his success, stuffing up all these runs, I like our chances a lot more of containing this dynamic Falcons offense. Moving over to the other big matchup of this game, it's going to be Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago Bears passing attack versus this horrendous Falcons secondary, okay? I've already read all the stats to you guys. The Falcons defense overall has been pretty stout against the run, so it's going to be tough to get Monty going. But I do think we can do it based on the fact that Monty is having an incredible start to the season. I mean, he's on pace for over 1,200 yards. I think he's averaging like 5.2 yards per carry. So Monty has been carrying our team in the run game. And the run blocking also has been fantastic over the first 2 games. I mean, all the guys on the interior, Cody Whitehair, James Daniels, Jermaine Ifedi, when we run inside zone, we are running it to perfection. So I do think we can get the run game going to some extent, and it is going to help us win time of possession and keep Matt Ryan off the football team and, you know, give a breather to our defense. But really where we should be attacking this Falcons defense is in the secondary, okay? Go down the field, unleash Mitch Trubisky's arm, have Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller running a lot of routes down the field, have Darnell Mooney heavily involved as well, get the tight ends going as well, okay? We haven't seen a lot from Cole Kmet yet. I want to see Cole Kmet involved more in the passing attack because so far he's only been used primarily as a blocker. And even though he's been succeeding wildly as a blocker, we are not taking full advantage of Cole Kmet's ability to catch the football and all the crazy moves he puts after the catch, okay? All those stiff arms he showed us in college, all those, you know, trucks and carrying all these defenders with him. Like, we haven't seen that yet in the NFL because Cole Kmet has only caught one pass. So if we can get Cole Kmet and the tight ends overall more involved in this game, get our receiving threats going down the field, you know, building up a lot of confidence for Mitch Trubisky, getting a lot of big plays down the field, that is how you beat this Atlanta Falcons team because they have been horrible in giving up big plays in the secondary. Their secondary has a lot of youth. They have a lot of injuries as well, okay? They have a rookie cornerback, AJ Terrell. They have Isaiah Oliver on the other side, who is also a pretty young corner. They have Keanu O'Neal, who's probably their best member of that secondary. They have a lot of other injuries to their other safeties, Ricardo Allen, DeMonte Kazee. I don't know if either of them are going to be playing for this game against the Bears, but overall the point remains that the secondary has a lot of youth, a lot of injuries, and they're probably going to struggle against a pretty good Bears receiving core. So if Mitch Trubisky can throw the ball down the field, if Matt Nagy can design some creative plays to take advantage of all these favorable matchups that we have, you know, it's going to be a good day for the Chicago Bears offense, and we have the potential to put up a lot of points. With all that said, let me get to my score prediction for this game. Who do I think is going to win this game? And guys, I have the Chicago Bears going into the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and coming out of there with another dub by the score of 28-27. It's going to be a last-second victory for the Chicago Bears. I actually have Mitch Trubisky scoring a last-minute touchdown on a toss to Allen Robinson in the right corner of the end zone. So I'm being oddly specific there, but why not, guys? I mean, I'm just trying to have fun here. This game in so many ways reminds me of the Buccaneers game from 2018, right? Like, everything is so similar. We're facing off against a terrible defense in week 3. Our offense, just like in 2018, kind of struggled over the first 2 weeks. We haven't put up a crazy amount of passing yards. We haven't, you know, put up a lot of points either. But what happened in 2018 was that Mitch Trubisky had the breakout game of all breakout games. He passed for 6 passing touchdowns, just completely torched and shredded that pathetic Buccaneers secondary. Now, I don't think the same thing is going to happen in this game. I think the Falcons are going to hold us to much less points than the Buccaneers did, and Mitch Trubisky is not going to have the same type of game as he had in that Buccaneers game, but it is going to be kind of similar because I feel like this Falcons secondary is also extremely pathetic, okay? They've been pretty bad to begin with, but they also had a ton of injuries, so a lot of youth, a lot of injuries, and the Bears receiving core is much improved, in my opinion, than it was in 2018 even, okay? Anthony Miller is 2 years older, 2 years wiser. He's still been a little bit inconsistent, okay? Last game he played terrible, but I do think Anthony Miller is going to rebound against some, you know, pretty young and inexperienced corners. Allen Robinson, you know, also the same story with him. He played pretty poor the last game, but he dominated all of last season, obviously. And going up against weak competition like this, he should be able to eat and he should be able to feast. We have a new young guy in Darnell Mooney who's been able to stretch the field with the speed and put a lot of crazy moves on these DBs as well and gain a crazy amount of separation. If we can get production from either Jimmy Graham or Cole Kmet in this game, if Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller can do some damage down the field, if we can run the football effectively like we have been doing in the past, this Bears offense could put up a lot of points against this pathetic Falcons defense. Now, the thing is, though, guys, we have to play 60 minutes of good, solid football. We can't be playing only one good quarter like we did against the Lions or 2 good quarters like we did against the Giants. We have to put together 60 minutes of good drives, of scoring points, because this is the Atlanta Falcons we were talking about, okay? It's no longer some horrible trash team like the Giants or, you know, the Lions, okay? This team is going to be tough to beat. They're going to be desperate. They're going to be putting up points against our defense because although our defense, I do have a lot of faith in, you can only hold this offense to so many points, okay? At some point, they are going to get drives going down the field. They are going to put up some big plays. They are going to put up some points because it just seems impossible to fully contain all these weapons. I mean, I don't think any defense really is going to be able to stop all these guys, especially with Matt Ryan playing at such a high level as well. So if our defense can hold these guys to 27 points. Although that would not be a great day by any means, it would be an okay day and it would give the Bears a chance to win this game. Now, who do I have being the Bears offensive MVP for this game? There's a lot of different options I could have chosen from. I could have chosen one of the wide receivers or one of the running backs or one of the tight ends, because this Falcons defense is pretty poor. So somebody is going to have a big day. And that somebody, in my opinion, is going to be quarterback Mitch Trubisky, number 10. God, Mitch Trubisky, man, I think he's going to have one of the best days of his entire career. I'm either going to be 100% right on this or I'm going to be completely wrong. I don't think there's going to be any in between, because with how bad this Falcons defense actually is, either Mitch Trubisky takes full advantage of it. You know, he has a day of his life. He takes a lot of shots down the field. He's, you know, pinpoint accurate with all his passes. He's going through his reads pretty fast based on the fact that this Falcons pass rush is probably not going to be consistently there the entire game, and there's going to be a lot of guys open. So it's going to be very easy for Mitch Trubisky to go through his reads. Probably, you know, either that is going to happen or it's going to completely fail to show up, and, you know, a lot of people are going to be calling for his head. I think it is going to be the former, because I do like the growth that I've seen from Mitch Trubisky so far this year. I know a lot of people are going to say that Mitch Trubisky is still the same guy he's always been, okay? He's still one read Mitch, still cannot throw to his left. Well, guys, the numbers prove you wrong now, okay? Mitch Trubisky has actually completed more passes to his left than to his right over the first 2 games. He's been pretty accurate in spurts. He's going through his reads a lot better than he did last year. If you look at the tape, guys, don't just look at the stats. Go back and look at the tape. He's actually reading the entire field, keeping his eyes down the field as well, not just looking at only his first read. He is a different quarterback, but the results have not shown up yet, okay? We haven't put up a crazy amount of points, a crazy amount of yards. This game is Mitch Trubisky's chance to do just that. On the other hand, my defensive MVP for this game for the Chicago Bears is gonna be Robert Quinn, okay? Robert Quinn only played in 38% of the snaps in the last game, but he should play a lot more in this one if the reports from the medical staff are correct, okay? It is looking like he is gonna be playing a lot more in this game as opposed to the previous game, because he's a lot further ahead in this injury rehab than he was last week. So we should see a lot more of Robert Quinn. And guys, the Falcons starting right tackle is out for this game, most likely. So he's going to be going up against some inferior competition, and I think Robert Quinn can absolutely feast in this one. I have him getting 2 sacks and another forced fumble and being a monster all night long. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I want to say in this video. I think I got to everything. So if you have any other questions about this game, if you want to know my opinions on anything else, you know, leave your comment down below and I'll try to get to them, or shoot me a message on Instagram or on Twitter and I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can. But, you know, overall, you know, let me know what you guys think also about this game down below in the comments. Like, do you guys think the Bears offense is going to be able to put up points against this terrible Falcons defense? Do you think the Bears defense is going to be able to handle this tough challenge in this Falcons passing attack? You know, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I honestly cannot wait for this matchup, because I think the Bears and Mitch Trubisky can shut up a lot of haters this weekend if we get the dub over the Falcons. So let me know what you guys think down below. But as always, bear down.